All right, Karen, needs assessment.
Yep.
Where are you?
Where am I? Well, based on our meeting last week, I submitted a kind of more detailed summary of 40B and then kind of a briefer summary. And then I promised to put together a directory of people who I was contacting for outreach, and I decided, given the fact that it seems that the steering committee is really doing a great job in planning a significant outreach strategy. So I thought it would be useful to try to compile everything that I've been hearing and anything that we had talked about as far as the planning process into a document that really outlines the outreach strategy for you guys to look at, and as we go along to augment and to kind of report on implementation of that, just so it's all in one place. So it included our initial meeting, the fact that the committee is meeting regularly, the steering committee outreach to numbers of appropriate boards and committees and other organizations in town, as well as various entities in town that might have some opportunities for development. And then I mentioned the outreach that I'm doing. I met yesterday with Betsy and Donna, and I also met with Sarah at Brook School Apartments. Eileen was scheduled to come but had a conflict, and so I'm meeting with her early in July. And then I listed...
Oh, Eileen Vogel? Okay.
Yes. And I listed a number of people that I will be contacting. And then I mentioned that I assumed that the architect that you hired will also be doing their own outreach, and then a series of public meetings I mentioned, and we can add to it, but I decided to go beyond just a list of people. I have been working on the demographic profile, and I'll have that to you before our next meeting. I'm going to be away for a part of the next couple of weeks, but I'll have that ready for you to look at, so that we can discuss at our next meeting, and we'll be going on to the kind of the economic profile after that. So that's kind of I did need, at some point, I did talk to Sarah and have kind of a general understanding of where Brook School stands with respect to the, that's...
What a ringtone that is.
It's for the hunting dog.
Oh.
I'll take it for him. I have a sense of where that is. Before we get to that, when we met with Donna yesterday, she was anxious that, or she was interested in when the steering committee wanted to approach the Board of Selectmen, as far as a status report on this. And both Betsy and I said, well, it makes sense to really talk to you folks on what your preferences were with respect to timing.
Long meeting.
And so,
That was quick.
in a row.
That was pretty fast.
I guess we could talk to the selectmen almost any time and give them an update. You have to kind of give them a status report, but I mean, there's not an awful lot of substance to report at this point in time.
Well, I talked to Michael Harity for 2 hours this morning.
Oh, you did?
There you
So,
So informally, you're...
yeah,
you're
it was just
keeping them
informal,
apprised,
but
yeah.
we were talking
Okay.
about, because we're trying to get some sort of, we talked last meeting about approaching Regis.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
And,
that's right.
and so the question is, what is it that we're bringing to the table? And so we spent a lot of time talking about that, what that might be, and what size that might be. The meeting also included Tony Flynn, who's
Okay, yes.
who's working on sort of background research for projects like that.
Mhm.
But we went over into other places where these projects might be cited. You know, starting with Regis, the obvious place is Regis East, but you know, it's a hill of solid rock, so you know the options are limited there. There might be other options in the vicinity of Regis, but that begins to get you into the discussion of conservation land and how that parts of that might fit into the overall matrix, and what would be involved in that discussion. And part of what we talked about was the idea of thinking about new possible conservation land that's coming available, that's not already designated conservation land. I mean, the obvious big one is the case, most of the case land, but also there's the Carter Field on Route 20, which isn't designated yet. So maybe there's a way to begin to negotiate with the Concom to identify parcels that would be better conservation land than municipal land, and vice versa, better municipal land than conservation, and begin to look at those trade-offs, because you have to make the trade-off. It's by state mandate, I believe. In other words, if you take conservation land off the rolls, it has to be replaced somewhere else with new conservation land. So, you know, there's going to be there may be some trade-offs there. And so we talked about that, because I'm the designated guy to go to the Concom, so the first reaction is going to be, and the quite reasonable reaction is going to be, we want conservation land to stay conservation. That's totally understandable. But there's a further dialogue that would evolve out of that first discussion. So we're trying to figure out how that dialogue might occur, and what the implications might be. We also talked about the dual tracking that we discussed last time. That is, that we're looking at trying to produce the HPP and also develop at the same time some idea of a project that might get a comprehensive permit.
Correct.
So that they arrive at the station at about the same time. And so we talked about what that might be. And one of the candidates is the one that we talked about last time, which is Brook School.
Right.
The Brook School back 40. You know, what are the implications of that? And there, the sacred cow is athletic facility. So there you're talking about recreation. And then there's the question of what happens if you take a field from here, do you then replace it there in some other location, and where would that start to be? So
I can give you an update on recreation, because I did break the ice with recreation, both with Chris and with Ellie Cuttergrass. And because we don't, and I'm going to back up in a moment here, but because we don't have a good, consistent message yet, I'm a little bit concerned about making any real official approach to anybody, other than just saying, I want to break the ice to let you know we're out there, and we're going to be tapping on your door soon. And I think we need to put the official message together before we can really talk with these people. It needs to be consistent. You agree, Karen? Make sure. And there are some points that were even mentioned in the seminar that you and Leslie went to about communication strategies. You know, how can we deliver the message? You know, there's about 6 bullet points about things you really should do. You know, lead with values, focus on shared aspirations, talk about results and benefits, use plain language.
Where is this from?
Memorize data to support.
Oh.
This is a workshop.
Page you on in the PowerPoint. You said
Four.
the PowerPoint?
I brought a single
Pardon?
page with me, so don't even start to yell at me. I don't even know what section this is. Anyhow, I guess the issue that I'm bringing up is I think we need to, and I know Mark was gonna start that, and that was what Jack pointed out, passed out earlier, which were these bullet points, but Leslie and I have been trying to distill that into a better message to pass it out to everybody so we can at least decide on what makes the most sense. We're kind of using this as the initial framework. Unfortunately, let's say, a death in the family, so we're kind of on top of the computer dying. So we're trying to put that together and come up with something fairly succinct so we can start approaching the different people. As far as recreation, I told them that we were interested in Brook School, just to let you know. I said, I understand your charges, recreation, ours is affordable housing, so just respect the fact that we're both looking at the same property, that's all I can tell you right now. So they understood, and they had no problem with that.
But I think in terms of, we started this by saying, how are we going to meet with the, should we meet with the Board of Selectmen? I think that kind of broader discussion to the selectmen, that we bring to the selectmen that we're going to be approaching other boards and trade-offs are necessary. I mean, it may be patently obvious to them, to some of them, maybe not to others, but I
Well,
think.
we're gonna need their help.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
the message.
And I think we
Yes.
should meet with them as a board. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
having discussions with Michael is obviously great, but as a board, I think we need to get them all on board, so I wouldn't mind going in front of them and letting them know where we are, what we're planning on doing. We don't have any really solid plans yet, but that's,
Do we want to wait until, you know, we massage Jack's outline and until we get what
I
you
would
and?
love to get a fairly succinct message put together and give that to the selectmen to show them the type of thing that
Yeah.
we're planning on doing, even if it's only in a draft form,
Yeah.
but if it's at least, you know, a couple of iterations down the road from where it is now. To get their input and to find out how they feel about it also. Yeah. So that's why I was hoping that we would have it done for tonight. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, so. So anyhow, and I know the selectmen would like to hear from us, and I respect that. But Karen, to get back to you had, and I'm not sure I understand, you had a succinct list of people that you really needed to talk to. Do we have that written down or recorded any place in particular?
I sent you guys an outreach strategy, and as part of the outreach strategy is my outreach. And
Okay.
so I listed,
I apologize, I don't have a copy of that.
Let's go through that.
okay. That's what I was describing earlier, as I was talking about the initial meeting, ongoing
Yep,
meeting,
yep.
whatever.
Okay. So all of those folks are on the list, correct? I mean,
Well,
I just want to make sure we touch all the bases.
One committee that I don't think was on the radar too much is the JSTOL committee, the working group. And I just think they need to know what's going on.
Can I have it or do you want it back?
Particularly if we're talking about
You can
putting
hang on to it.
housing in the library. then you really
Yeah.
need to know.
I don't want to get sidetracked too much, John. I'm not sure how to mesh that in with our discussion, because I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know if the elderly housing committee is talking about trying to do something right now.
Well, in fact,
Or-
the JSTOL committee has put out, and I'm going to get the wrong term, but a request for proposals or statements of interest. And those are due pretty soon, like in a month.
Okay.
So they're going to start considering things pretty
Is it-
soon.
But let's cut to the brass tacks, because I'm really not bright enough to follow most of this. Is the elderly housing group going to actually respond to that RFP?
Absolutely. We've
Okay.
already talked to them. We've already made a proposal. We've already done a feasibility study.
I know you have.
You know, we're serious about it.
Okay.
So we're meeting on Monday or Tuesday to strategize about putting together the statement of interest.
Good, okay, great. So you're gonna respond, so they have an RFP out the street, I didn't realize that.
No,
It's not,
Well,
well,
they
they're
have
not
a
calling it,
questionnaire out on the street.
Oh, the questionnaire.
they're calling it a statement of interest, but it's,
Okay.
It's not an RFP.
Well-
That goes out in September, I think.
Okay.
well, the RFP is a technical term, but it's a request for
It's a statement of
proposal.
interest,
Notice of
otherwise known as,
interest.
it's a broad, hey, is anybody
Yeah.
interested
Anybody.
at first,
Yeah.
rather than go through the entire RFP process and.
It's
That's
a pretty-
right, it's a pre-qualification list.
Yeah.
It's a pretty detailed list of questions. It's not just saying, hey, anybody interested, send us a note.
Okay.
96 questions or something.
All right,
All right.
okay, so that's good, I'm glad you brought that up, but anyway, so back to the needs and the
Back-
outreach. if you
Back
go-
to the outreach
please.
strategy.
I'm sorry.
There are names that are organizations that aren't included, and John just suggested one, but
Mhm.
for your list or for my list, we should add them. So I put it out there for you guys to look at,
Okay,
and
great.
I'm working on it, and if we need to, if you direct me to additional people, if you think that will be worthwhile.
Great. And you said you talked to Donna?
Dawn and Betsy and I,
Betsy?
the three of us met together, and I have a meeting scheduled with Eileen for early July.
Okay.
And I met with Sarah yesterday
You met
too.
with Sarah
from
this
Brook,
morning.
Brook
Okay.
Park, Brook School.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started talking to some of these other people on the list too. So we'll, I'm working through it.
Were we going to add, under your list where it says contact will also be made with the following town departments, so they're individuals, some of the faith-based folk? I don't know who,
Oh, that's right.
Some of the what, I'm sorry?
faith-based,
Yes,
That's right.
faith-based groups.
yeah.
Or
That's good. That's a
Well,
good
really-
catch, yeah. There was that
Churches,
group,
right.
that group.
Churches, synagogues, mosques,
Right,
whatever.
there's a group of
That's what I'm.
all
Yeah. it's
all
very
the
mentioned.
ministers that
They
meet
had me for
together.
lunch, yeah. That's what I'm gonna try to do. I can't go to every church.
No,
I'm
but
really-
I think if you just go to that one
But if we
meeting,
could
you'll
do that
get
one meeting,
everybody.
that would be really terrific.
And do you have a contact who heads it?
Well, Tom
Someone
Wintel's
mentioned-
quite involved in it.
Yeah, I think
I
we
know
put that down.
he's at First Parish,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
he may not be the leader of the pack, but he's
he
in
can
the pack.
direct.
He's been very involved with a lot of things in Weston, so he's a good touchstone, I would think.
He's been here a while.
Steve Melius is on that housing partnership. He might not be a bad entree to that group.
He's also in that group, yeah.
He's the minister of
Methodist.
the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
Then we had realtors listed.
Yeah, we do.
Did we have any really good ideas about realtors, about who would be?
Are there any good realtors in town?
Glad you said that, Jack.
I would definitely talk with Diane.
Thank you so much.
Diane, did you have a card that you can give me?
I have one in the car. I could fetch and bring it to you. Sure.
You just give me your.
Just give an
telephone
entree into that
number.
group, so
Send us out
at least you
and-
can-
Yeah, maybe take
Connect with someone.
Someone else.
Great.
as well. Varying perspectives, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Anything
Diane
else?
probably knows who the players are in town.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
There's other people,
that-
right?
the ownership
CCC.
stuff is pretty easy. It's the rental stuff that becomes a little bit more difficult.
Right.
So much word of mouth.
It's also in the changed.
Right, so Steve Wagner was another realtor that we're mumbling about here.
Right.
Does it make sense to talk with someone from Marion Village?
That's all affordable, right?
Yeah, you know what I'll do, I
Over
should,
51.
that's a good point, because it's useful to get wait lists and
Exactly right.
turnover rates, that kind of thing.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you'll probably be talking with all of the affordable rental properties in town, right?
Yeah, pretty
Larger
much,
ones.
if it's just a single rental unit, I'm not certain.
No,
Right, the larger ones, yeah.
all the complexes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah does 2 of them, so maybe 3, I don't know.
Yep, we're getting there.
So,
Okay.
so that's helpful. Anything else on that outreach strategy?
Well, I just think we should probably address Jack's outline and see if we can do that, right? And that's,
Mm-hmm.
may not be, it may not be everything on there that we need to do, but there's a lot of, he raised some good points. And it gives us a starting place to develop, in
Right.
developing a,
Well, that's why Weston and I were trying to put something together that was you know, these kind of raise questions that we need to make positive statements as to what it is.
right.
Should we maybe wait until,
Yeah, I think maybe we
Till we
should
get
wait
your
until we
piece.
get the next piece or the next version from that.
does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Well,
What do you
I
want to do?
took a stab at cutting and pasting and putting together some text for those
Okay.
points. But I didn't write too much original stuff, I just cut and paste.
So what you've done, John, is essentially answer the questions?
I just came up with text that relates to the questions.
Any more down here?
Well, I got one more left.
We
Who's
can
gonna make
share.
an offer?
We'll share.
We'll share.
We'll share.
And we started $20. I didn't make enough copies.
This is also kind of, John, what, yeah, I'm glad you, on 3 and 4, that was my comment, what is he friendly and hostile, and what's, yeah.
And some of that text I stole from a report that you did for Sudbury. Or for some,
Yeah,
maybe it was,
maybe.
I forget which.
But
town.
Karen's was great, I like what she had written too, so let's,
Yeah. Well, I might have stolen one from one of her reports too.
don't leave it at the
I
wheel.
stole from everywhere.
Hey,
And that was in the outreach
Well,
strategy
that
for
stuff was meant
piece
to be
that
used,
Karen
so, you know,
submitted.
It's just a starting point.
yeah, good.
Well, we have a lot of documents floating around here. I'm not sure what the best way to
Well, you're working on
merge
something,
all the
Jim,
thoughts.
right?
Yeah, I'm
So
thinking,
you're gonna try to,
why don't you let us take the lead? We'll take all these documents, we'll try to distill this into something that makes sense and get it out to the group before we have our next meeting, so we can at least ponder a little bit.
and you got a copy of what Karen had sent?
Yeah, we must, like I said,
Yeah.
we've had computer problems, it should be solved by tomorrow. But,
Can we just circle back, excuse
Sure.
me, to Karen, updated housing needs assessment? So you're crunching the numbers now, but you don't have any demographics for us at this
I
point?
have the demographic profile basically done. I have a couple of things I want to fill in. I thought I'd give that to you so we can discuss it at the next meeting, because I thought there was enough stuff on the table tonight.
Okay.
And I just had a couple little things that I wanted to fill in, but I've pretty much gone through to that part.
Okay, thank you. I missed that. Super.
Is there anything else you're planning to report to us on tonight, Karen?
Well, do you want me to give you a synopsis of what I learned from my discussion with Sarah on the book?
Yes, please.
School? There are 2 significant hurdles to get over to have those units, the 24 units in Building D counted. Because 40B is and went through it, and that, you know, what is 40B requires, there's a number of requirements.
Mhm.
Certainly, the income isn't the problem there for the affordables. The issue of being, you know, the subsidized and local action unit and the LIP program makes sense because all the CDA money that's been invested and other town money. The issue has, the permanent fair housing marketing plan is a real problem. You have already existing tenants.
Mhm.
There was a tenant selection plan that was done back eons ago, was updated to a certain extent. Sarah, when the project was being, when tenants were selected for the Building D, she's gonna send me that, but how affirmative it was is really questionable. And the second issue is that there's no real deed restriction or use restriction in place. So And, according to her, that back when that was all being discussed, there was no real entity to deal with, so they kind of like put it on the back burner. However, to try to go back and patch this stuff up is not an easy matter. One way of dealing with the affirmative fair housing marketing plan is that as units turn over, and if you have an affirmative fair housing marketing plan and it's approved by a DHCD, you implement it at some significant expense, and you do a lottery and you have a rank order. As units turn over, you would bring the person from the top of the list into the unit. However, and then you would count those units one by
Once
one.
they turned
As the
over.
units turned over, they could be counted pretty probably. However, she's already got this waiting list, and first come, first serve has been the modus operandi forever. And those people who've been waiting on lists would basically be encouraged to apply, when you couldn't maintain two lists.
Right.
Oh, and those affirmative fair housing marketing plans, it's not that you can keep that lottery ranked list forever and ever.
Right.
It's stale after a year or two, and you've got to get approval from DHCD that you can extend it for 2 years, and you have to keep doing it. So it's not that's not a slam dunk. The regulatory agreement, something would need to be put in place. My suggestion is probably for me to lay out some options. I think because the project is pretty unique in the state, because there is a serious good faith effort on part of the town on an ongoing basis to provide real affordability, that I think there's a case to be made that, there were some oversights done earlier in the project, and you're looking to DHCD to help the town come up with a solution, and how legitimately affordable units can be put on the SHI. What does the town need to do? My question is, who we contact to do that? Whether it should be initially maybe a conversation I have with the LIB director, Tony Hall, and it's kind of more informal. Is it something the Board of Selectmen wants to put the argument down and send it to Crystal Cornigan and request a formal meeting? Is it something like a couple, this steering committee, and maybe I, approach Kate Racer? I mean, I think there are different, politically, it's like how you want to play this. I do think it's worth pursuing. And I think there is a certain mea culpa. Yeah, things weren't done appropriately. We didn't get good advice on this, but there's been always a good faith effort. How can we make this work? And see, you don't lose anything by pursuing it.
Correct. Yeah.
And the worst case to me would be that somehow you figure out how to get some deed restrictions in place, and you should have them anyway, because you want to protect the long-term affordability.
Sure.
And have that recorded and enforceable. But the worst case would be having to do that one by one,
As they turn over.
as they move to turnover. And it couldn't be just, like she does switch people from the building to building based on, some folks where their children are paying extra, but they really do need the income, and then she moves them from market units to affordable ones. I mean, she could still do that, you just couldn't count those units. It gets a little complicated.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
But all we
But-
need is 20 to 25% of that to be affordable. We still get credit for all of it.
No, you don't. You can only do that if it's a 40B.
But it's a rental.
It doesn't
not a
matter,
40B.
it's not a 40B. You only get that count if it's a 40B.
So how many units in Brook School Apartments really count on the SHI?
51 now.
Okay, so we do get the 51. I don't know how we
You
get
do?
the 51. Did we go through the proper process before?
No.
I don't know how you got to 51 either. And you don't want to complain about
Sorry,
that
I
because
asked
it's
the
No,
question.
strike
that's
that.
always been a big conundrum. I'm so glad you said this, because I had a meeting with Liz Russ this
I'm
week,
just trying to
our
understand that.
HSO, and she basically said the same thing. And we're saying, so how did we get to 51?
Well, my understanding is that it's because they have a federal subsidy through HUD So,
But not all of the units have that subsidy. Not
No,
all of
but-
them are
but
project-based,
all the
only
buil-
42 are.
all of the buildings have, all of the 3 other buildings have a project-based subsidy from HUD.
But not all of them, they don't, the project-based covers a certain number of units, only covers 42 to 51 units, but all the 51 units are covered.
Right.
So what is the delta then? What could we be adding to that 51? What's missing?
The 24 is Building D,
Okay,
that was that last phase.
right. And
So-
24 are all affordable that we know of?
Yes.
24.
They're all affordable, they're not all
No,
subsidized.
they're not all subsidized. And
But
that's,
they're affordable according to the 80% guideline thing.
So they're all
Even the
80
market rate is affordable, according to my understanding.
So they're all 80% AMI, what they're missing is the deed restriction, and they're missing the fact that they didn't have a comp permit.
I don't think,
No fair marketing.
No, they didn't have the marketing.
yeah, you know, even the market rate units, the rents are fairly consistent, but they're not doing the same income. Eligibility, I don't believe.
No,
on
that,
those.
market rates, they don't test the.
That's right, so that's the reason you can't count
They
those.
don't count.
But all of those units are lower than the 80%.
If the occupants in the units aren't earning at or below 80% of area median income, can't count those.
It's
And they're not subsidized. The subsidized ones, they have to earn below that
They
amount.
check their income every year.
They have to, yeah.
Right.
My question
But
is,
it's-
can you count the ones that aren't subsidized? And I would think it'd be a tough argument to make. And it also draws attention to the
Yes.
ones in the
Yes.
50,
Yes.
the 51.
Exactly.
Kind of makes me,
You can open up the potential
Yeah.
can of worms here.
yeah.
I mean, to my way of thinking, I think we need to be diligent about doing the right thing to get Brook School apartments all in line and properly do this, and if it takes time by turnover, so be it. But to get the deed restriction in place and to put everything else
Yeah.
You
those
need
should
to
be
do
done.
that.
In
And that should be
place to
part of the
make sure it's part of the
strategy
strategy.
and the housing production
Yeah,
plan.
we need
That
to
is
do
a
that.
major strategy
Yeah.
to deal with DHCD on this
Yeah,
and to,
and just because, whether it was done too long ago, whether we missed a step, just,
doesn't
that's
matter at
behind
this
us, let's
point.
move forward
That's right.
and bring it into the
That's right.
program,
Go to
do the right
DHCD and
thing.
say, how can
Yes,
we
yes.
get this to work?
Because it really was a good faith effort by the town of Weston.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that HUD didn't provide any more funding, the town of Weston said, well, we'll do it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that's a,
okay.
there aren't too many towns around that would do that, I don't think.
That's right.
So
That's good.
Does it make sense then, to answer your question, how to politically approach this? Maybe, a conversation with the selectmen, we would like to do this, and maybe a conversation with Tony Hall on your part.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And I have a good, very good relationship with her. We need to do that soon, though, because she's taking that retirement. I think she still wants to keep it a little hush-hush, but I think it's better to kind of do something sooner instead of later.
Does that sound like a sensible approach to you?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Would you recommend any other approach?
Well, I think the formal thing directly to Crystal's a little heavy-handed to start out with.
Well, just the waters
I
a
think
little bit.
just testing the waters and getting, she's a good soul. I think she'll point us in the right direction.
And as you point out, the Brook School is fairly unique,
Yes.
so she may not even have it on her radar,
Well, yeah, I think that there are not a ton of these developments that, local, municipalities really sponsored as affordable and maintained as affordable,
Mhm.
Berkeley resources. And
Right.
so it's not like if they grant it for some reason, they override some of their guidelines, they're gonna have a flood of other projects coming in.
No.
saying,
Yeah.
Oh, but you
Yeah.
did that. And so, there aren't so many other comparable projects
It
that.
doesn't establish a precedent.
Yeah.
And it would be a good thing if Newton decided that they wanted to generate housing that the town of Newton was gonna pay for. I mean, that
Well,
wouldn't
they-
be a bad thing.
No, well, and Newton does provide a lot of money
Well, I just
for the
use
development, but that's,
Brookline,
yes,
right?
but this is, I think it's.
May
Okay.
may I ask, is it naive to think that we can just impose deed restrictions without the, I don't think anybody's going to object in Brook School, are they?
No, I don't think it's a problem. I think that
Rentals.
the state will want to see their regulatory agreement
Yep.
used. They'll want it.
It's easy.
Yeah.
But
it's-
why-
it's
isn't
not
that
a
just
big deal.
paper?
That's just
paper.
paper.
Just, somebody
But it's
just writes it up and does it.
That's
It's not
right.
paper.
There's
It's
already
only
been
for
some.
It
land.
seems to me that's the simple action item that gets us moving.
Yeah, but it's
And it's
sufficient.
the best kind of mea culpa.
It's necessary but not
You
sufficient.
just
right?
formalize.
I
it.
understand that.
But it's one of the steps, yeah.
But
I-
you gotta
that's
do
great.
it.
Yeah. No, I say we do the step, we run up the flag, we'll do the step.
Who writes the
Deed
restriction?
The state has a
Okay.
document that
Yeah.
they will want you to use. They have a regulatory agreement for, lift rental projects that
That's
they'll
easy.
be using.
It is, and so I think when we were doing Wathi Pine Street or whatever else,
Yeah.
I think we worked with town council on that regulatory agreement, and it was,
Yeah.
there's no sweat.
And-
Usually it's between a developer, the municipality, and DHCD. I think one of the questions back when was, so who's the developer and.
The town wears two hats,
Yeah.
the developer and the town.
Yeah, I think that would be
Right.
really what would happen, is that it would just be between the town and DHCD.
Yeah.
So is that something we should undertake ourselves, or is that something we should undertake with your
Would I,
assistance?
let me just talk to Tony about it and get her advice
Great.
on it. But it's something that we certainly will want to include in the housing plan.
Sure.
Maybe you could call me, I'd be glad to get involved with that. If you want to call me after you find out
Great,
what we need.
thank you, Hugh. Yeah,
That would be,
that's great.
that would be great, and, that's something that we'll talk about at the next meeting, hopefully. I am going to be away for part of the time, and, but I'll try to call her, and I have your contact information.
Okay.
Contact you. Thank you.
Are you
Thank you.
offering free legal advice?
Excuse me?
It's good to have the housing partnership
That's all I can
involved,
offer now.
you know?
That's all I can offer, it's a beautiful thing.
You're valuable, Tom.
Okay, what else do we have?
That's it for me. Now I talk about the first year housing.
Are you, I have a question, are we there yet about the reference to the architect?
The what?
I'm looking at your,
I assumed you were still hiring an architect, and that architect would be doing outreach too?
well, I have a question. about
Yes,
that.
that's true, we have not gotten to that point, but we need to get to that pretty quickly.
So I just added it, thinking that
We,
try to be more
I-
comprehensive.
I think something I need to do, if we want to talk about an architect, I'll break the ice by saying that we own by contract services of three architectural firms, actually, to do studies, graphics, and other things, and we could use them. They're on retainer, we don't
Who
pay
are
them
they?
anything, we
Who
just,
are they?
I'd have to get their information to everybody to make sure that they satisfied us is what they were doing. Actually, one of them's TBA, and TBA did the last building at Brook School, correct?
They've done feasibility studies for the building C, and they've done a feasibility study for the old library. And I believe they did work for.
They
Warren.
did Warren Avenue.
When you say we own, who's we?
The town does through the permanent building committee.
Ah.
So they're on the contract, and Donna holds all the contracts, so they're on the contract, and we just go out to them, and if we have a project, we say, gee, A, B, or C, and we kind of pick and choose the ones that we want, depending on who's overloaded or not.
So we don't.
And we
have
just ask them for a
this
proposal to do the
formal-
work.
Can you remember the names of the others?
Not off the top of my head tonight.
If
but
we're
I
in
will
a.
provide that to the group.
Yeah,
so
that'd
they
be
can
great
take a
if you
look.
could.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
I
good.
will. That's a starting point. I'm
Yeah.
not sure these people are the right people.
Yeah.
Right.
I will tell you.
Right. If, let's assume, for sake of argument, they aren't, do we have access to additional money for,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, so.
Donna had earmarked money for the architectural portion
Yeah.
of this, so we still have access to
So maybe
We'd have
all
to
the
issue an
architects in the
RFP.
room should be looking around and offering some suggestions.
that. We have to issue an RFP. think, to hire somebody.
Yeah, but
We don't have to offer an RFP to the ones
It's
that are
under
in the
10,000.
contract.
Yeah.
Then you have to go
If
right
it's
for the,
10,000, I believe we can interview and sign, that's right.
That's right.
Right.
You don't
We
need
can
to
just,
send
you're
out
right,
an
thank you.
Right.
If it's under 10,000, we can just pick and choose the people we think may be beneficial to us. Bring them in, talk to them, see if they're willing to work with us once they see who
so
we
let's
are.
be looking around and
Yeah.
maybe talking to some other towns and see who they might
Sure.
have used and been pleased with.
Just to mention, besides the visual representations, I was kind of hoping that the architect would also do some of the map, have, supervise the mapping with the GIS here too. So when you do whatever you need to do about what their responsibilities are, it'd be good for them to be doing that too.
What specific by GIS?
Well, I think it'd be, when there's opportunities to show maps on, say, where the existing affordable housing units are, maybe doing a map on the range of housing values by color, based on assessor's data, which is important, so you can see by color where some of the more affordable private sector stock is. I mean, there are other things about, potential locations for affordable housing, that type of thing.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that open Pandora's box? I'm just a little bit concerned that we get people antsy before we know what we want to do by sort of doing a map that's suggestive.
Well, it's not suggested, it's just factual. Oh, you mean the proposed thing?
It's factual, but it's suggestive
I
of what
see.
we may want to do.
Okay, I
Before we have
understand.
our ducks in a row.
Okay, I understand that, and that should really be, that should be more part of, not the housing needs assessment, but the strategies.
Yes, that's the outreach
It wouldn't
strategy.
be,
Yeah,
and
I
it wouldn't,
agree.
you can kind of do general areas, or, it's not essential. DX likes to see maps, it's not like they have to do it. I've done plans that haven't included a map, and they approved the plans, but they do like to see them, and there's, some utility.
Yeah, no, that's fairly easy to do. As I mentioned before, we did find inconsistencies and we're closing up on that GIS system, so, which has been beneficial, but.
Would it be helpful for the group to ask Karen to maybe come up with a list of things that you'd like to see the architect?
Well, we did a proposal,
So.
it's in the
whatever is there.
proposal, okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Wait a minute, was it clear in that proposal?
For the
What the
architect,
architect
what
was
what they would be
gonna do?
doing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you don't have to accept that proposal
Right.
verbatim, but it gives you an idea of what
Okay.
typically
Good.
they've done in the past, and also response to elements that you had in your RFP.
Okay.
I told you that I had spoken to an architect who was interested in doing this kind of work, so
Yeah.
there are a bunch of them out there.
Oh, there, yes. I think we'll easily find plenty of architectural folks out there. Okay, you all set, Karen? And,
Yeah.
Um,